Welcome to Shaping the Basin, the podcast where we talk about the people who are making a difference here in Klamath. My guest today is Darin Rutledge. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I have known you in lots of different ways, but I think you were the president of the chamber the year I started.
Yep,
like
that sounds
17
right.
or 18 years ago.
Yes.
But you've always been involved in business in some way. And now you're the executive director of the Klamath IDEA.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do at the Klamath IDEA.
What I do. A large part of the job is actually just interfacing with entrepreneurs, which is the cool part. I've been around economic development stuff in my last several roles, even longer as sort of a volunteer. But here I am, not so much focused on the business, but the entrepreneur, which is just fascinating.
I think sometimes people think that entrepreneur and business owner are interchangeable and one and the same, but is that true?
In a lot of ways, it is. Entrepreneurs become business owners. Many entrepreneurs, when they own a business and it's kind of rolling along, they're like, okay, I need to get back to entrepreneuring. So they'll sell their business or they'll get someone else to manage it and then they'll go be an entrepreneur again.
So what is the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner?
Oh boy. Wow. That's a good question. I think in a lot of ways, it's the mindset, right? The entrepreneur is typically highly growth oriented, right? There's a goal way down there that they're trying to achieve. And they know that the first step, for example, owning a small business isn't going to get them all the way to the end zone, right? So, like I said, they become serial entrepreneurs, right? Or, we have a few of them around here that become what I call parallel entrepreneurs, where they have 3 or 4 small businesses, and it's still not quite enough for them, right? So, I think that's kind of the difference. A small business owner, still has that sort of innovative vision. A big thing that both share is taking a risk, right? It's easy to manage a business when the checks that you sign aren't coming out of your own bank account, right? Business owners and entrepreneurs are taking a risk because, the checks they're signing, it is their livelihood. Entrepreneurs aren't necessarily business owners, right? A lot of entrepreneurs are just innovative. They have great ideas, and they give them to people. Some of them who are really good are able to sell them to people, right? So they come up with an idea and they license it or they franchise it. So they're still doing a lot of work, but they're not doing the legwork like a small business owner would.
The Klamath IDEA has a history. I mean, it kind of started as a group of different organizations coming together and talking, right?
Yeah,
Talk to us about the beginning.
Yeah, so I think it was 2014, and it was an effort out of the Governor's Regional Solutions Office, right? And it actually was the chamber. If you remember, Chip was the director at the time, and the state came, and it was kind of I won't call it a rocky start, but it was. I think it was sort of the state's first sort of dabbling in, hey, let's go out and help these rural communities and help them figure out, how to become better economically. And so we're 2014. Klamath County particularly was still, suffering a lot from the recession from 2008, 2009. And they came in and said, hey, we want to throw some money at you to build a makerspace and an accelerator and an incubator and all this stuff. And a bunch of groups got together and said, well, that's not really what our community needs. If you remember at the time, our vacancy rate on Main Street was pretty high, much higher than it is now. So we had plenty of space available and it was cheap. So if somebody, had the funds and wanted to start a business, that wasn't as big a barrier to entry, right? So we said, what our entrepreneurs need is access to resources, right? So that was also about the time that Business Oregon started their, it was RDI at the time, rural development initiatives, but there were some issues with that title. It's now rural opportunity initiatives, but it was a grant program that supported communities like ours that wanted to start, really focusing on an entrepreneurial ecosystem. And they said, here, we've got some money for you to build a space. We said, we don't want to build a space. We don't want your money. They said, we'd really like you to take some money and help us get this program off the ground. And the compromise was, okay, we'll let you financially support a space for us, but let us build the initiative and do what we want with it, which is connecting entrepreneurs to resources. And that's where the whole thing started. And my office is still in the Center for Entrepreneurship in the Washington Federal Building, which is the space that Business Oregon initially said we'd like to help you pay for. And we have training there. We have meetings there. It's a space where entrepreneurs can gather and meet if they'd like. Our mission has pretty much stayed the same since then. And of course, we've gotten a lot better at it. We've learned a lot. We've made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot the hard way. But our mission is still connecting entrepreneurs to the right resources at the right time.
So if I'm understanding correctly, and if I remember correctly, we're kind of the model here in Klamath for that around the rest of the state, correct?
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, we're kind of the pioneer, right? I just had a call with Business Oregon yesterday, and it was it's great to be chatting with partners who've been with us the whole time, and sort of supported our effort. And it's not that other areas in the state aren't doing it and aren't doing it well. But, again, initially we were kind of the model. We were the ones that actually went outside, contracted with E2 Entrepreneurial Resources, Don Mackey, who's the guru of this stuff nationwide. And so, we're kind of considered the pioneers. Now, it's been great. We've had some opportunities to connect with some other communities through Ford's Growing Rural Oregon program, and learn from and share with some other communities. So even though we've been doing the work and, we probably have the most experience, if you will, we've learned a lot of new stuff that's working in other communities that we've been able to apply here. So it's been a cool experience. And I've been on the e-leadership team since 2018. So I've only been in the job for, a year and 4 months, but I've been around for a while. So it's been cool to kind of see the evolution.
What are some of the lessons specific to Klamath that you've learned in that role?
Well, I think there's a lot we've learned. Some that we've reinforced are that entrepreneurs are very independent, right? You can't tell them what to do. Not that that's ever been our intent, but the approach, you kind of have to adjust your approach in providing access to resources. A lot of entrepreneurs are also, I don't think this is necessarily a negative thing. They have a lot of pride, and they don't think they need help, right? In some cases. So feeding making the resources accessible and consumable, and actually sitting face to face with an entrepreneur and saying, I think you could benefit if you connected with XYZ partner. I think that's one of the things we've learned is how to, sort of interact with the entrepreneurs. And that, I think, has come from our formalized visitation process. Again, E2 helped us build this formal process where we survey an entrepreneur. If they're sort of the target that we want to really sort of engage with, then we go and do a visitation with them and learn from them. And then over the course of time, as we've met with these engaged entrepreneurs, we can kind of start pulling some lessons out, right? It's like every one of them says this. So let's make sure that in our approach, we do this. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest things is we've learned how to better actually execute that mission of connecting them with the right resources at the right time.
Right. I know there's this metaphor Is that the right word? Of a three-legged stool.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the importance
Yeah.
of entrepreneurship. Talk to us
Sure.
about that.
Yeah. So that was, our initial message when we started going to foundations and to Business Oregon and to our local elected officials to advocate for entrepreneurship as an economic development strategy. And that is that, there's recruitment and retention, which is sort of the traditional economic development model. I refer to it sometimes as chasing smokestacks, right? Because the old model was, well, we're going to swing 100 times, and if we get one factory with 100 jobs, boom, that's a win, right? And that's true, right? Especially in areas where, like ours, where those are good jobs. And we have KCETA doing a lot of that sort of recruitment and sort of growth from that aspect. But the part we were missing was all these small businesses we have, right? These mom and pops. And if you look at the numbers in Oregon, not just as far as economic production, but the number of businesses that are considered small businesses, it's staggering, right? People think that our workforce is made up of mostly those big companies, and it's completely opposite. Small businesses are literally the backbone of our economy. Now, is it important to have, factories and mills and technology companies? Absolutely. But we want to make sure our small businesses and our entrepreneurs are taken care of as well, because it's kind of like, that marketing metaphor in corporate America, right? It's a lot cheaper to keep a customer than it is to go out and get a new customer. And we feel the same way about economic development. It's a lot cheaper to cultivate the businesses that are already here than it is to go out and try and bring 100 jobs here. And if you gave me the choice, we're going to give you one big name company and it's going to be 100 jobs, or we're going to give you all the resources you need to take 10 small businesses and have them each add 10 jobs. I'm doing that every single day. That's my choice.
That's
right?
awesome.
Said I'm all about it. Yeah, I'm all about it. Said I'm all about it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Said I'm all about it. Yeah, I'm all about it. Said I'm all about it. Yeah, 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 yeah,
If a picture says 1,000 words, imagine the story. 24 frames a second can tell about your business. 40 Deuce Films.
When you're talking about resources and things that you offer to entrepreneurs, if we have entrepreneurs that are watching, can you talk a little bit more about what that process looks like?
Yeah, sure. So we have a proprietary website. It's called SourceLink is our digital platform, and it has a resource navigator, which everybody in the world's heard of a resource navigator in one context or another. But this is purpose built for this type of work. It's not just some CRM platform out there that was adapted for this. I mean, they built it for organizations who do the type of work we do. So to become a resource partner or to be listed in our resource navigator, there's like this really complicated taxonomy of, so when an entrepreneur hits the resource navigator and they put in some search terms, it's not just a couple lines that goes and finds one resource, right? I mean, it's very complex. The type of filters that it engages in the search are this long list of potential services that entrepreneurs might need, right? So when they're connecting through the digital platform, we have, I think, 28 e-resource partners right now in the navigator. And if they're doing their search properly, it should get them down to one or two resources that are the best for them. Right. And then we sort of do the same thing if they just walk in, right, or if they're referred to us. And I think that's one of the value adds that Klamath IDEA kind of provides in the ecosystem is that when you come and talk to, me, I'm the only one, paid by the organization as staff, but we know the ecosystem, right? Nobody knows it as well as we do, at least in terms of connecting entrepreneurs, right? I mean, obviously the chamber, you guys know all of our small businesses and those kind of things, but in terms of an entrepreneur coming in saying, I have this issue, where we can get them connected. Yeah.
Do you think that there's some specific industries that are, are there specific industries that have more opportunity for entrepreneurs in this area right now?
That's a good one. I think there's a couple of sort of organic opportunities that are starting to present themselves. And then I think there's kind of one or two I'd like to see, but I think organic opportunities, we are starting to sort of become a grown-up town, right? We want more things like nice restaurants and recreational opportunities and things to do on weekends. And we have a lot of that stuff, the Ross Raglan Theater, a lot of active art galleries, but now you're starting to see things like Underground Art KF, right? That's coming up and actually making some more formal opportunities for stuff like that. So I think in the creative space, there's a ton of opportunity, and that's not what people sort of consider a traditional entrepreneurial opportunity. But talk to some of them. I mean, Rob Tilburg is a perfect example. Guy moved here from Florida. Has his art studio, not a gallery, a studio. I think he's got a gallery in there too, but he literally does the work right down here downtown. And so I think that's an up and coming sort of opportunity for entrepreneurs. I think, tech is big. Healthcare is an opportunity just because we've got clustered resources around those with Oregon Tech, with Sky Lakes. That's one of the lessons we've learned along the way is, to take advantage of the resources your community already has to create entrepreneurs, or at least to give them opportunities. So I think there's opportunity there. And one that I would really like to see developed and sort of break out is like value-added agriculture, right? And there's a few of those around, but clearly the agriculture sector around here has changed a ton, over the last, especially the last decade, but probably over the last 100 years, you could say it's totally changed. But here we are again, sort of probably how it felt a decade before the timber industry left, right? And a lot of people don't like that sort of forecasting. And I hope I'm wrong, but, even if I'm not, it's an opportunity, I think, for a lot of those farmers and, people who have that knowledge and experience and depth in that sector to start innovating, right? And I'd love to see some of that. I think agritourism is a huge opportunity, have for some time. But also that sort of value-added ag. I'd love to see some innovation come out of that sector.
Right. Where do you see the entrepreneurship 20 years from now in Klamath County?
Boy.
What do you hope for?
Yeah, it's funny because I hear a lot of people say we don't want to become Bend. We don't want to become Medford. We certainly don't want to become Portland. And I'm 100% on board. I totally agree. What I always counter with, though, is, okay, but we can be our own grown-up place too, right? We can have the things we want and be in charge of our own sort of economic and community development. And I think we have a perfect opportunity here for just like to be a hive of entrepreneurial activity. Right. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, with access to a lot of resources, right? Again, especially when you look at Oregon Tech, Klamath Community College, Sky Lakes Medical Center, So there's opportunities from that aspect, even in manufacturing development. I mean, Oregon Tech has advanced degrees in manufacturing engineering, and a lot of the students that come out of those programs are going somewhere else, right? Not because there's no manufacturing here, but because it's, as far as resources and employees, we've got them. So I'd love to see that sort of expand. And I think, we have the opportunity to sort of be that place where entrepreneurs go, oh yeah, that's a great place to do my thing. It's not like 50 years ago where somebody said, okay, I'm going to start a business, and the only way I can be successful is to make millions of dollars. And the only way I'm going to get there is working 80 hours a week. That's not what today's entrepreneurs are. Their definition of success is totally different. It's not always about money. It's about comfort and lifestyle and balance, right? And man, what better place to love where you work and where you live than Klamath County, right?
That's I love that what you just said. I mean, we always talk about what a great place this is to live, work, and play.
Yep.
And it is about that balance. And I think back to some of our first conversations when I started at the chamber, and the conversation was, how do we become the place that somebody would want to live? And now it feels a little bit more like, how do we attract the people that want to live in a place like this? And that
totally.
That's pretty awesome.
In fact, I think that the tagline when you started at the chamber was live, work, play, or something like that, right? It was Running Why had the same thing. And I think that phrase specifically is overused, but the concept and the idea is 100% still alive. And like you just said, it's a little different now. It's not, come here and enjoy. Oh yeah, you can also work here, right? Yeah. It's, hey, this is a great place to be an entrepreneur, to open your new business, or to move your manufacturing facility.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time today.
Absolutely.
I do have 3 really quick questions for you.
Yes.
All right. If I could
Lightning
if I gave you $250,000 and you had to make a difference by the end of the day in our community, what would you do with it?
Oh man. Well, that's a good one. I always say, give me $20,000. I can't do much with it. I need more than that. $250,000, man, that's a lot. I think I would invest it in efforts that are sort of broad, right? Not narrow. And there's a ton of great causes around here, but I would want to invest in something like entrepreneurial development, which and with the caveat that it has to include like middle school through our college students, right? As part of the entrepreneurial community.
Fantastic. If you could describe your leadership style as a TV or movie character, who would it be?
Oh, as a TV or movie character, huh? Interesting. I like to think, and I am not even close to meeting this bar, but it's always been my goal. The West Wing. I don't know if you remember that television show, one of my favorite television shows of all time. And Jed Bartlett was one of the most admirable leaders I could ever think of, even though he was fictional, right? But I'd like to think Jed Bartlett.
Now I'm going to have to go watch West Wing and check that out. I'm sure there's stuff
every
out
5
there.
years or so, I go and watch the whole series again.
I'm going to have to try that. And then last thing, can you think of one small but important change people could do to make Klamath County a better place?
Believe in it. I've always, you've heard me say it a million times in public meetings, in direct conversations, whatever. We have a self-esteem problem that we need to get over. We don't think we deserve the things that we want, and we need to get past that mindset and believe that we can be what we want to be.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being a part of that, believing in entrepreneurship and here in Klamath County. Thank you for your time. And thank you to our sponsors, Running Wire Resort and 40 Deuce Films. Like, follow, share these episodes. Thank you.
You bet.